start talking? Oh.
Refocus.
Who came up with the idea to transform the WAC to Streamlab?
Actually, I did. I worked. I was traveling throughout the state and visiting some STEM schools and facilities. I was actually at a PD in Center Grove in Indiana, and they had a beautiful STEM facility, much larger than the WAC room. It was a facility completely dedicated to the STEM process. So I was like, this is awesome. So I came back home, didn't think anything of it. I just thought it was a beautiful facility. And then one day I was walking through the hallway, and it really wasn't my idea, it was the Holy Spirit, I always say that. And I walked past the WAC and I looked in there, I was like, this place is so underused. I was like, what could we do with it to make it beneficial? And then I remembered that design of that space in the other school, and I was like, this is it, this is the space. So I walked around with Mr. Rich Redzwicki, and I was like, Rich, what do you think? What do you think, like, of my idea, this little vision that the Holy Spirit gave me? And he was like, that'd be awesome if you could make it happen. And that was it. And it's since then transformed. I got more people involved. I worked with the stream team, so like Mr. Pillar, Miss Albrecht, Mr. Lambie, Mr. Chikaraki. I don't want to forget anybody, but I know I'm going to. Ms. Dostatny, Ms. Guazda, just a bunch of teachers that kind of collectively worked and discussed the space and how we could recreate it. And we kind of came up with this Streamlab, working with an architect that gave us some more guidance.
How much will this transformation cost?
Okay, ready? This is going to hurt everyone's feelings, all right? Especially if you're sweating in your classroom right now. But it is going to cost approximately $1 million. The good thing is, and I always say this to students because they're like, we can get iPads, but we can't get air conditioning, or we can get this lab, but we can't get air conditioning. Air conditioning only benefits you for probably 2 weeks that we would pay to run it a year, where a Streamlab or an iPad can be used throughout the entire year, 180 days times 4, which you'll be a student here. So I think it's just a better investment, and it focuses on your educational needs. So $1 million, and all of this comes from capital campaign money.
So capital campaign will help fund for this?
Yeah, so the diocese, our Bishop Donald Hying, has been also very generous in this. So he's doing a lot of the capital improvements of the space. And then our capital campaign, Mr. Paul Mullaney, and his efforts over the past few years to raise money are going to pay for this. So it's not like your tuition is going to go up. It's not like we're going to be doing bucket collections at games. This is money that has already been raised and earmarked for STEM. So we're using it to repurpose that facility.
What are some ideas or changes that will happen to the WAC that we should look forward to?
So I guess to me, the 3 very distinct spaces in that space focus on the STEM design model. And as we incorporate STREAM, we were very mindful of incorporating religion and the arts within that model as well. So some of the facilities will look like, obviously we still need to have an educational space, but education for your century, not those old desks that are still built in. You know, they'll have mobile seating, mobile tables, mobile seats, comfy seating, etc. In the instructional space. And around the instructional space, we'll have a lot of the technologies that we need for STEM. So even though you guys all have iPads now, iPads aren't really designed for heavy design work. They're designed for apps. So the computers that are in that space are designed for heavy, architectural design, SketchUps, et cetera, et cetera. And the computer spaces are designed to be collaborative. So if Josh and you are working on a project, or you and I are working on a project, we can sit collaboratively together and work on the same computer. And then the other space is called a makerspace. And if you Google makerspace, it's really just a space that allows kids to create, allows students to just create, allows you to get messy, it's able to be cleaned up easily, you're able to use hand tools, you're able to use scissors, razors, things of that nature to physically create prototypes, etc. And then the prototyping space actually allows you to make a finished prototype. They'll have 3D printers there, we'll have commercial grade equipment, cutters, saws, et cetera, that can really allow students to create a final product.
When will this construction start and when will it be completed?
So the goal is for the completion to be, the construction will begin, I believe, January. That sounds right, January 2019. And the completion of this should be next fall. So we're hoping to start the school year opening it. At the very latest, it will be open during the fall of 2019. That's 2019, right? Yeah. So January construction until the opening of the school year, hopefully.
Do you think this will help students' learning environments?
Absolutely. I think that, in so many ways, God bless Bishop Noel, but we're little behind. And not just Bishop Mill, really schools in general. When you look at the evolution of anything over a century, things have evolved, and education for some reason hasn't taken the same strides. So when you look at the space like the media center that we've already updated, kids like that space. Unfortunately, it's not open to you like it's supposed to be yet, but you guys like that space. It's created for you and with your needs in mind, and this space is going to be very much so. On our stream committee, we even had some freshman students on it because they were part of the STEM course through Project Lead the Way, and they kind of got it. So we were very intentional about making sure that it serves what you guys need and meet you where you're at, so you're more comfortable in the classroom setting as opposed to, you know, the rigid old school desks that we're so very used to in Catholic education. But we're expanding that to really meet where you guys are at, you know, giving you comfortable seating, giving you mobile seating. Obviously instruction still has to take place. You're not going to be able to, you know, like just learn everything through an iPad, but giving you those tools to make you more successful is the whole point of that space. So when you look at it from an academic perspective, it not only is enhancing our current programs, so you're looking at our physics being able to have a gravity zone, you're looking at our biology to be able to have a wet lab that you can do different biomedical needs for. But you're looking at that space to enhance our current programs, but we're able to expand it. So the goal is next year to offer a Principles of Engineering course. We're looking at expanding our computer programming, and we're looking at expanding our biomedical courses. So as a student here, it's an exciting time. And when you look at those three fields, some of you might say, hey, I don't want to do any of this, I want to go into business. Well, I just had a student, got her accounting degree, as an accounting major, and now she's working with a big company to kick off their IT their big IT goal, which is to have the IT world, the computer world, to kind of start taking over some of these accounting roles. So they have to create these applications in order for them to function. So this alum, I actually saw her, one of my former students, saw her at the tailgate, and she was telling me, like, you go to school to be a business major, and then all of a sudden your job has evolved in the tech world. So the skills that you're going to learn here are going to be beneficial to you guys across the board. So that's the way I'm looking at it, and that's why it's worth $1 million investment. And $1 million sounds like a lot, but in the school world it really isn't. And it's an opportunity for us to expand our curriculum options for you guys.
And even though this will benefit students, how will this benefit teachers?
I look at it as, from a teacher perspective, when you are, I used to be a health teacher, so this space, you know, people would say, well, how would you use it in health? I guess I just look at it as an opportunity to use the space to maybe do some more hands-on models. So maybe I would take the students in and say, all right, today we're going to create a heart, and we're going to actually create the chambers, and we're going to discuss what each of these chambers are. So you got chamber 1, you got chamber 2, you got chamber 3, you got chamber 4, you guys are focusing on the valves, you guys focus on whatever that might be, and we could actually create that. And what better way to learn? You know, when you look at ways that students learn, historically, even though we used to just have you guys memorize, historically, kids learn more by conceptually building, by conceptually understanding it. So what better way to learn the heart than having those conversations? So as a teacher, to me, I look at it as an investment for them in their instruction, and also like, hey, Bishop Mill is doing stuff to enhance themselves, to make sure that they're here for the next 100 years. So that's important to me as a teacher, because you want to go somewhere that you feel supported. You want to go somewhere that you feel puts value on education, and you want to go somewhere that's going to be here because you want to have job security. So all those things, I think, from a faculty perspective, are enhanced by this space.
Now, even though this is a stream lab for like STEM classes,
Sure.
will it be open to all classes, languages?
Sure. So if you actually looked at the renderings, we were very intentional about creating separate spaces. So even though this is the Stream Innovation Lab, that allows, just like the Media Center or the labs here, people can sign out. You know, I'm like I just said, I'm a health teacher. I want to use the Makerspace Lab. Is it available? Let me go online and sign it out. Okay, so this space is intentionally designed with 4 very separate parts. So if you look at the mezzanine, which is the upstairs level, it's a total separate space from the downstairs. Okay, that doesn't mean that if I'm a teacher I can't have kids in both those spaces, but it allows me as a school to have potentially 3-4 classes in that space at once. And then looking further into the future, ideally we'll host workshops there. We'll be able to invite kids to maybe participate in robotics, you know, down the line, have after-school programs in which we cater to our visiting schools and our partner schools. So from a visionary perspective, 3 years down the line, I want that space hopping all the time. And that was intentional when we designed it. We wanted to make value of all those spaces and make sure that it could be used for a variety of purposes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.